Andrew dislikes Charles intensely. One of my sources was telling me that Fergie and Andrew were sort of plotting to see how they could get back at Charles. This was a couple of weeks ago. So, I don't think he's going to do the honourable thing. He's going to do whatever it takes to save his skin. And I think
Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, red-faced and trembling, was reportedly screaming a desperate four-word plea at the two men he once called family. "I'm the Queen's son!" As King Charles and a ruthless Prince William looked on in icy silence, the former prince's world didn't just crumble, it exploded. He thought his bloodline was a permanent shield, but in that room he realized the two people supposed to protect him were the ones leading him to the slaughter. What he yelled next would change the monarchy forever, and it was only the beginning of the most explosive 24 hours in modern royal history.
Royal historian Andrew Lowney has claimed that Prince William is much more ruthless than his father, King Charles, and that Prince William can see the huge reputational damage that has been done.
The mask of royal composure didn't just slip, it was violently torn away. Behind the doors of his shrunken world, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor is reportedly a man consumed by a rage that has left the royal household in a state of quiet alarm. This isn't just a story of a disgraced royal, it is the story of a man who has finally snapped. The details are striking. Insiders describe sustained private tirades that are far beyond a moment of passing frustration. These aren't outbursts aimed at the media or the public. They are aimed squarely at his own blood, King Charles and Prince William. Those who have witnessed these sessions describe them as deeply uncomfortable, with the former prince launching into defenses of his past that ignore every warning he was ever given. In his mind, he isn't the cause of the disaster, he is a victim. He believes that the family who was supposed to protect him has instead tossed him to the wolves to save the institution's image. This shift in perspective is the most dangerous part of the fracture. He no longer sees a self-inflicted crisis, he sees a deliberate hit job orchestrated from within. The fury is fueled by a sense of deep personal betrayal. He reportedly paces his new, modest residence, venting at the people he holds personally responsible for stripping his life away. He isn't processing loss, he is processing what he views as a crime committed by his brother and his nephew. But as he rages at the walls, he seems to be missing the most chilling reality of all. While Andrew is consumed by the past, the new guard is looking firmly toward the future. And as we're about to see, the man leading that charge is a nephew who has proven to be far more ruthless than the king himself.
And everything I've heard is that William has been pushing to deal with this problem for years. He doesn't like Andrew on a personal level. He can see the reputational damage. And he thinks his father has been weak. And they allowed Fergie and Andrew to come back within the royal fold.
If you want to know who is truly holding the pen on Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's exile, don't look at the king, look at the heir. While Charles is often seen as a man caught between his duty and his brother, Prince William has reportedly moved with a cold, surgical precision that has left no room for sentiment. Behind palace doors, the Prince of Wales isn't just an observer, he is the architect. He sees his uncle not as a family member to be managed, but as a radioactive liability that must be scrubbed from the monarchy's future. William's approach is fundamentally different from the generations that came before him. He doesn't believe in the shield of the bloodline. Insiders claim he has long held a grudge against Andrew, particularly for what he perceives as a lack of respect toward his own wife, Catherine. This isn't just business. For William, it's personal. He reportedly urged the king to cut the rot before it spread further, leading to the decision that stripped Andrew of his titles and his dignity in one fell swoop. But the move that truly signalled the end was the eviction from Royal Lodge. This wasn't just about saving money on security, it was a psychological blow designed by William to show that no one is untouchable. Moving Andrew from a 30-room palace to a modest 5-bedroom farmhouse was a public declaration of his shrunken status. William reportedly pushed for this humiliating relocation to ensure the world saw a clear, permanent separation between working royals and those who have fallen. Even more striking is the warning William allegedly sent to those remaining in Andrew's inner circle. He has been clear there will be no more media spectacles, no more clearing the name, and certainly no more family protection from the legal storm. He has reportedly told aides that Andrew needs to face the music through the proper legal channels, without the palace interfering to soften the blow. William is playing a long game. He knows that the Andrew problem will eventually be his to fully resolve when he takes the throne, and he is determined to ensure there is nothing left to resolve by then. He is creating a monarchy that is leaner, colder, and far less forgiving. But as Andrew sits in his new, smaller home, watching the gates close on his old life, he isn't just fading away quietly. He's looking for a way to strike back, and the evidence that could pull the entire house down is hidden in a series of leaked emails that the world was never supposed to see.
No, I mean, there were women taken into Royal Lodge, sent to Royal Lodge. There were women I know trafficked to him in places like Kazakhstan. And I think he was pretty aware of it. I mean, it's very clear that when he met Virginia Giuffre, Virginia Giuffre confirmed this to one of my sources, that basically he had ordered her. He decided he liked the look of her, and so Epstein provided her. So that wasn't a sort of chance.
The investigation into Andrew Mountbatten Windsor didn't just stumble upon the truth, it was buried in it. In early 2026, the U.S. Justice Department authorized the release of over 3 million pages of documents from the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. Among the sea of evidence was a cache of emails that changed everything. These weren't just social invites or friendly check-ins, they were official, confidential government reports being funneled directly to a convicted predator. While serving as the UK's special trade envoy, the former prince was entrusted with sensitive data to help build British business abroad. But the documents suggest he had a second audience in mind. Emails show that on multiple occasions, Andrew forwarded confidential briefs regarding multi-million-dollar investment opportunities in war zones like Afghanistan directly to Epstein. The timing was nearly instantaneous. In one instance, he reportedly sent a briefing on Southeast Asian trade routes to Epstein just 5 minutes after receiving it from his own staff. This wasn't just poor judgment, it was a potential breach of national security. The files describe what insiders are calling a self-enriching hustle, where Andrew's royal access was being leveraged for Epstein's private interests. One email from a liaison even discussed setting up a private investment office that would use Andrew's aura and access as the primary draw. The implications are staggering. A senior member of the royal family allegedly operating as an unofficial high-level informant for an international sex offender. But the paper trail didn't stop at business. The document dump also included newly surfaced disturbing images from the Epstein cache that appear to validate some of the most serious allegations against him. For years, the defense was built on a foundation of missing memories and faked photographs. Those defenses are now disintegrating under the weight of 3 million pages of forensic proof. As the police sift through the digital wreckage, the reality is setting in. This isn't a he said, she said scenario anymore. It is a data-driven criminal probe. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor is no longer just a man with a bad reputation. He is a man under the microscope of a global task force. And as his world continues to shrink, the palace is taking unprecedented steps to ensure he is not just silenced, but totally erased from the public eye.
Let's talk about the disgraced former prince, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. He's now reportedly been banned from horse riding following his arrest. Royal aides fear that the former Duke of York being photographed on horseback would be a bad look.
Andrew Mountbatten Windsor is finding out the hard way that when the crown wants you to disappear, they don't just take your titles, they take your sunlight. In a move that insiders are calling the final muzzle, royal aides have officially banned him from his last remaining passion, horse riding. For a man who has lost his career, his security, and his home, being on horseback was the one place he still felt like a prince. But the command from the palace was absolute. Aides fear that a single photograph of him smiling in the saddle while under a criminal investigation would be a catastrophic bad look for the king. He has been ordered to stay entirely out of sight, effectively becoming a ghost within the Sandringham estate. But it's not just the horses. The restrictions have become so airtight, they've even instituted a virtual no-fly zone over his new residence to ward off paparazzi drones. He is a man under a domestic form of house arrest, stripped of his gun license, his patronages, and now his dignity. The palace isn't just managing a scandal anymore, they are practicing total erasure. Every hobby, every small freedom is being systematically dismantled to ensure the York brand never sees the light of day again. But don't think for a second that he is going quietly into the night. As the walls close in, whispers have emerged of a nuclear option being prepared from within his inner circle. Rumors are swirling that Andrew and his former wife are ready to break their decades-long silence. The threat? A potential tell-all that could unearth the family's most guarded secrets, including long-buried details about the treatment of Princess Diana. It's a classic case of mutual assured destruction. If he is going down, he seems prepared to take the rest of the House of Windsor with him. The tension is now at a breaking point. On one side, you have a ruthless future king determined to protect the monarchy's survival. On the other, a man who feels he has been betrayed by his own blood and has nothing left to lose. The palace is on high alert, bracing for a retaliatory strike that could bypass the courts and land directly on the front pages of the global press. The question now isn't if the hammer will fall, but how much damage it will do when it hits. Because, as we're about to see, the true cost of this fallout isn't measured in lost palaces or titles, it's measured in the wreckage of a family that may never be whole again. Ultimately, this is a story about what happens when a person builds their entire sense of self on a foundation of privilege that was never truly theirs to keep. The 30-room mansions, the security teams, and the global titles weren't earned. They were extended by an institution that had every right to withdraw them, and eventually did. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's current rage at Charles and William isn't just the frustration of a man in a difficult moment. It is the deep, fundamental shock of someone who genuinely cannot process a world where the rules finally apply to him. The walls that shielded him for 66 years have come down, and no amount of private fury is going to bring them back up. He sits now in a 5-bedroom farmhouse, a home most would consider a luxury, but which he views as a prison cell. He is a man who spent decades burning every bridge around him, and now that the fire has reached his own doorstep, he is still looking for someone else to blame. Whether it's the ruthless nephew or the unsupportive brother, in his mind the villain is always someone else. But the public record tells a different story. From the Newsnight catastrophe to the millions of pages of forensic evidence in the Epstein files, the path to this moment was paved with his own choices. As the investigation continues and the royal family maintains its icy silence, we are left with the image of a man raging at a world that has simply moved on without him. Do you see a brother betrayed by the family that owed him loyalty, or do you see a man who was given every opportunity to redeem himself and chose defiance instead? The investigation rages on, but for the man who was once a prince, the silence of the palace is the only answer he's going to get.